Well, the first phase of the installation of the surveillance system in Uganda started in June 2018. Now, since then, we've seen an increment of surveillance systems, or what you could call CCTV cameras, within the country. And according to details, 693 live CCTV cameras have been mounted to monitor Lunguja, Old Kampala, Rubaga, Nalia, Bulenga, Kawala, Kabowa, Natete, Mutundwe and surrounding areas of Kampala. So you get to realize that the move that started in 2018 has steadily been increasing. But the question and the concern, however, has been arising over the years: vandalism. Now, the police are holding a man for vandalizing a closed-circuit television or CCTV cameras in Kaboja in Chengera Town Council, that is in Wakiso District. The police CCTV cameras installed under the National Safe City project are meant to solve challenges of urban insecurity committed, especially by assassins riding motorcycles and vehicles, or even the round kicks that we've been seeing trending at the start of the year. With such cases of vandalism, it brings us to a conversation this morning looking into the vandalism of public infrastructure, the impact it has on us as a country, on the development of our cities or the urban centers, and what it implies in regards to the economy of the country as well. Because as much as we are looking at the developed countries, you get to realize that everywhere they at least have a CCTV camera. Not only that, there are lots of things that are attached to developing cities or to urban centers, which also includes the street lights. And many a times, when you happen to go through some parts of Kampala or the different suburbs, you realize there are some lights that are no longer functioning. Some are no longer functioning because maybe the lights ran short of their functionality. And then there are other incidents where there are alleged reports that some of these lights were vandalized by some assailants or some, thieves who ended up taking these lights and taking them for further duties. Now, that is where our conversation is going to be driven around. We are looking at the impact, but on top of it, trying to ice it around protection and maintenance. When it comes to the protection, that is something that we can do as the public and then also the authorities. And then maintenance, the authorities have the higher say when it comes to maintaining this. But then on top of the maintaining, we as the public have to be looking out to ensure that these things that we term as public goods or services are highly maintained and highly prioritized. This is a conversation that we are not having a guest for, but the gentleman with me this morning is Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, as we head into this conversation of national importance and something that will definitely spur a conversation that you, our dear viewer, can as well be part of in the long run. Robert, good morning once again. It's cold in Kampala.
Well, when Winston Churchill arrived in Uganda, he looked at this wonderful country. And he had traveled to a number of countries. Remember, by then, they were not using airplanes or planes. So he said, this is the pearl of Africa. We are very few countries in the world, not even 10, that have 2 rainy seasons. You have an opportunity, you don't wait for winter, then wait for summer. No. It can be very, very cold. One day, the following day, the sun is out. This day you're swimming, the next day you cannot swim. So the weather is something that Ugandans, it is a blessing to us. More so, we know that we have 2 rain seasons, March to May, and then August to December. So it is something that we should be proud of as a country. The only question is, have we made the very best out of the rains or our weather we have? The answer is no. Because one time it's raining, the next time it's drought. The water table is very near, we have so many springs, and we still depend on only rainfall-fed agriculture. Irrigation, we have failed to have that and all that. But that is not the topic for that day. You've brought in a very important issue to discuss. Now, I remember it was in 2007, around March, when then Assistant AIGP, Assistant Inspector of Police, and who was the police spokesperson, Andrew Felix Kawesi, was gunned down. That was
2017.
Now, His Excellency made this statement. For a long time, we've been thinking of installing security cameras, but we've kept on postponing this issue for other priorities. I now direct the Minister of Finance to work with police and have CCTV cameras installed to fight such crime like these assailants who are shooting people and then disappearing on border motorcycles. So 2018 we saw that implementation. However, it's very sad when we see that there has been vandalism. Now that person arrested, it is alleged, of course we paraded before court, that he had actually made it a habit using stones to move in the evening and hit these cameras. For a purpose, investigations will let us know what was his intention. Because in crime, they look at the intention. Yes, you've killed someone. Is it manslaughter or is it
why did you, what did you intend to?
What was, so we need to know if this person goes through a mental check and is sober, then why on earth would someone wake up and destroy these cameras? Contrary to other road furnitures that we shall look into. But then also the question is, have these cameras served their purpose? Of course, vandalization is a crime and no excuse. But Ugandans must appreciate that much as we still have crime, no doubt, these cameras have aided in the fight against criminality. You've just talked about the round kick. This young man who was arrested and later we saw police bring him to reconstruct the scene of crime.
And these are because of the cameras. Even the
because of the cameras. It is those particular cameras that were installed by government of Uganda that were able to detect and see and capture that. Then security followed up and nabbed him. We have a number of incidents. There was an habitual phone grabber around UBC roundabout, there. It was those very cameras. We've had a number of incidents where cameras, yes, they do post-mortem so far. I think that is the next level we must move into as a country. How do you ensure that we don't come to these cameras after offenses have happened, but we can have people, you know, when you go to Natete, that is where I have the center, and the president launched it some years back still. But how do we be more proactive with these cameras? Because post-mortem, a crime has already happened. Yes, it is good that you're able to arrest the suspect. Yes, it is good. These cameras sometimes deter someone from committing crime because no one wants to be captured on camera. That is solid evidence that can be used against you in courts of law. So they will deter that when someone looks around and they see cameras, they may not commit that crime in that particular area. So there is a preventative element there because someone detects these cameras and they don't commit that offense. But also, on the other hand, if we are able to arrest this suspect, it means you've broken the cell of people who are committing this crime. And maybe others will say that will have fear. It will instill fear in them that if you commit this offense, you're going to be captured on camera and police is going to follow you up and you're going to be arrested. Have they served? I would say a 50-50. A 50-50 reasons. One, we are using them so far as Uganda government, as security. We are using them to carry out post-mortem. So the crime has already been committed. Because we don't have statistics showing how many, and maybe we cannot get statistics of how many have not committed crime because cameras are there. So our main intention of preventing these cameras have not been very effective. However, the post-mortem element of arresting suspects using that footage, I must say these cameras have done some commendable work. But still we have a challenge, Sonko, that when you look at these cameras, they are few. Second, they don't have in a feed-in method. I'll give an example to our viewer. If you go to your house and you want to install cameras, cameras to be effective, they must have what we call in a feed-in method. How? That if I come into your gate, there is a camera that will capture me as I'm entering your gate. Now that camera has limitations. Even if it's a 360, it has limitations. Now I'll need a camera that is going to get your backyard, because someone can jump over the fence. I'll need a camera that will be giving me the side view, the side's view of your home. So that if the camera at the gate gives me its angling and its ending, there is where the camera in the sides feeds into, that I can see a Sonko come in my gate, then I don't lose Sonko because the camera didn't get him. So I switch to camera B that will give me Sonko going around the house. Then I have camera D that gives you the background, Sonko entering through the back door. Then I have camera E that will give me Sonko jumping over the fence on the other side. Or in case Sonko doesn't use the gate and jumps over the fence, I have a camera that has captured him. Now our cameras, you find that you may have a camera at UBC roundabout. But as you're chasing this person, trying to locate them on the camera, from UBC roundabout, you don't have camera connectivity. You don't have another camera that feeds. So I remember this young girl that was abducted in Unguja. This famous case of a young lady whose father is a tycoon. Oh, my owns a number of hotels. The name has skipped my mind. But she was gotten at the gate. You know, and then the kidnappers made phone calls to the father. She was eventually killed.
As she was going to school?
No, she was coming back home in Lunguja. I'm trying to recall the name. Now, on the gate, her and her driver, I think, were abducted, were kidnapped. Then later, they asked for ransom. It was a famous case, Sonko. They asked for ransom, and then I think they even cut a finger or produced a finger to the parents. I'll get along.
The name.
Magara. Thank you, the Magara case. Now, the cameras produced the image of this people driving the car at a certain level, and I think it was even in the media. But thereafter, there wasn't continuity. The cameras weren't feeding into the other. So we still have very few, and we lack that connectivity that you can track a person from UBC all the way to Machindye, all the way to at least a meaningful destination where he ended or parked the vehicle or something like that. So those are still some of the challenges of these cameras that we are having now.
Okay. Now let's look into besides the the issue to do with security. When it comes to the economic bit of it, because these are let's say forget the cameras, and then we also look at some of these street lights that are also vandalized. Because as much as we are even looking at the cameras, we look at the street lights and the cost of procuring some of these products or some of these things that are for public use. When you look at that, the impact of vandalizing them on our economy or on us as Ugandans who want better services provided.
Well, the impact is very big, because one thing we must notice is when government gets billions and invests in cameras or street lights, one, the cost of arresting a criminal. If government is to give us the money they spend, say for shooting of the late Joan Kagezi, was the prosecutor in this rebel group, ADF, and all the terrorism and all that. When you look at Andrew Felix Kawesi, when you look at Biriga, these cases, government, if they give us how much money they invest in investigation, how much money goes in prosecution, when you hear that the DPP comes out and says you've arrested about 50 people, but these I can't link them to this case. The effort, all that, and also the image of the country, what that costs, the insecurity it creates, and people cannot go to work Now, when you look at the escorts given to prominent people in this country, the VIPs, of course, some are questionable. In the effort that this city, because of fears, you remember one time even members of parliament, I remember, were concerned of their security. Some got escorts. Others, there's a time when they were requesting for armored vehicles, if you remember that. Now, if you look at the cost of insecurity, when people vandalize these that government has spent on, when you go to street lights, when you look at crime that happens, because criminality does not want to associate so much itself with the light. Now, when a street is lit, you're leaving UBC after maybe reading news at some period of time in the evening, maybe at 11, and you're driving from a roundabout, and maybe you have to go through Speak, La Serena, then go down. Light, there is a way in, first and foremost, when a place is lit, most of the times criminals desire darkness because you can't see them very well. Even a person who wants to help you fears it is already dark and all that. Now, economically, if you're to quantitate how many people Sonko will fear leaving their homes because it is still dark, will fear going to work and make money, will not do certain, maybe if they have shops, they'll close a bit early because of such problems of fear, because of fear, the threats that come with darkness. It is very normal. Someone even tell you, I wanted to leave my home, but it was still dark. Now, if we are to quantify how much of money we lose in that, you find it is so much. But the problem still comes when we go to these security lights. There I find it very complicated, so. And I've already spoken, even when I had the deputy ED in studios, said, but this vandalism of security lights, yes, we all agree. The materials made, we have an industry called the scrap industry in this country.
Yes.
That is another problem.
Because most of the people take this as scrap material.
Most of them take this as scrap material. But now for these particular lights that we are having, the issue is complicated. We need to further investigate. I had quit investigative journalism for reasons, but I may go back to find the truth. Because these current lights that government installed are solar lights. Now, these people are not interested in the poles, nor in the wiring, but they have batteries that they use. Now, these batteries are not at the bottom. These batteries are a bit raised. Now, an ordinary thug, an ordinary habitual, even if I'm to call him vandalizer,
has less resources of tapping into
has
these batteries.
Very less resources. Because for them, they want scrap. They want to take a pole. That's why you see this whole road furniture. They put these signages on the roads. The poles are taken. That's why we saw these high-phase electric wirings that were being stolen. They were taking these metals for scrap. They would come and cut. Then they get those piles. That's why now government changed the railway lines. Where we used to have those that were stolen by scrap, now they are building. There are those that are building out of concrete. Now, with these lights, it is another case and very tricky. How an ordinary or habitual vandalizer climbs and is able to get those batteries. Those batteries, because this is how, these ones, that's how they are spoiling them. You wake up in the following day, the battery is not there, so they are not functioning. I saw someone who in Uganda. It was all lit. You know? Now, I'm tempted to think this could be an inside job. That as people come to carry out maybe maintenance or something of that sort, I'm not 100% sure.
I love your choice of words. You're tempted to think.
I'm tempted to think. I'm tempted to think. Because on several occasions, I see this truck that comes for maintenance. Someone, you know, it has a lifter, and then they play around with that light, then it goes. If it is a contractor that was given to maintain, it is questionable. If it is the KCC people, whoever is in charge of that, we need an investigative committee into that to find out, are these the ordinary thugs? And that is why it is rare to hear that they were arrested. But previously, there were so many arrests of people who would be found trying to steal those lights. And we also had some cases of those that were found in homes of some VIPs that were meant to be on streets. But for Uganda, that is something we can understand, that they have not been stolen on the streets. Maybe during distribution, someone was like, that is good for my compound. But the vandalization of these street lights, because for the ordinary people, they would plug out these wires. Now, KCCA and government noticed that wiring from ground to up was something that they wanted so much. Now we went to the solar way. The solar way, because most of the lights, I think, now on our streets are solar, majority of them. I'm not yet very sure of these ones they have put around Arena Mall that go up to Mukwano, but they are very good lights. It could be a new technology, but for the previous that have been installed, we have been going the solar.
Yeah, there are those that actually have solar panels even installed on top of them.
Now, how are you going to tell me a light very high that an ordinary vandalizer who is looking for scrap material to take and smelt is going to
but Robert, you know, you can as well look at it in this way. What of these that need batteries to be refilled once again? Is it an issue to do with maintenance? Because now when it comes to maintenance, you also realize even the ones of solar will one day run short of gas or power if at all we are not maintaining them as it's supposed to be, because we expect some maintenance works ongoing on such lights. Because even when you're home and you're having a solar panel, you have to maintain. The maintenance works have to be done. Are we failing at this?
One of the challenges, soon we should be having a deputy ED of KCCA, if not tomorrow in this very program. One of the challenges KCCA faces is their budget for maintenance. I've talked to a number of officials there, and they'll tell you they have a very little budget for maintenance. And that is why you see that roads are worked on. Yes, their durability could also be questioned. But at the end of the day, you find that a road will go to the dogs. It keeps on deteriorating. Yet if there was a budget, to some level you could save. A stitch in time saves. But now what happens is, because there's a very small budget, at the end of the day, they go to the dogs because you don't have money. So there is so much that we are able to do. That's why I was telling you, 27 roundabouts to be worked on by KCCA, the trenches, they will be lit and all that. But do we have a maintenance budget for that? The answer is, if we have, it is a drop in the ocean. So we have challenges of maintenance. And then coupled with the fact that Ugandans, we've not appreciated public good. We don't own. I don't know, Sonko, how we can bring this back to Ugandans, that this is our property. A person goes to the village, he's driving a government car, it is fetching water. You get it? People are Modokaya government. People are not bothered. Someone finds a bin put by KCCA. Of course, that is also questionable. Why are they continuously doing the same thing that they know is going to produce the same results? Why don't they change either material? Like the railway said, if you're stealing these ones, now let's change. But someone will feel very comfortable to take this bin, vandalize it. A border cyclist is excited because Arsenal has won a match. Then what does he do next? He goes on his motorbike, puts the start down, and then you see that fire. And they're not bothered that this road we are spoiling is a public good for all of us. A politician feels offended or wants to attract international support. Then he's seeing youth demonstrating, burning the road. Burn tires. So the challenge of Ugandans, I don't know if you have lost the spirit of nationalism. We no longer feel that these are our things.
You know,
and we should guard them.
I had a similar conversation with a colleague yesterday on in regards to how we handle ourselves as Ugandans. And we ended up having, you know, a conclusive agreement that it seems we as Ugandans don't love ourselves enough to want good things. And we do not admire as much as one would wish to. Because if we would admire other countries and how they maintain their things, we would then have admired it. We would then have been more practical when it comes to maintenance. Because at times you realize that even we Ugandans do what we call self-infliction or self-destruction, if that is the right word to use. That, like the examples you've used, we have a good road and someone says it's an opportunity for me to just cruise my motorcycle on it. Or if you have a good car, the best way for you to check its longevity or its originality is for you to try and do funny sorts of things with that. How do we change that kind of mindset from the Ugandans, and when it comes to maintaining the good things or the good public goods that we have?
That is a tough one for me, because I would say first, charity begins at home. We have a generation that doesn't love its country that much. We have a generation that is not concerned so much about each other. Now, this, because we would say that we have what we call patriotism clubs in some schools. Not all. We don't have patriotism as a subject in our country, and I don't know, because people have argued that you don't have to teach me to love my country. Let my country be good to me, I'll love my country. But who teaches you to love your father or to love your mother? Because I know children who have grown up and they have had absentee fathers, but they look for their absentee fathers because virtue is those are their fathers. I know of children who have grown up with a drunkard father, but when they call you asking, Robert, there's this trouble, who can help? And you ask, who are you? Dad. And you're like, but when we were growing up, that man was next to useless in your life. Of course, you don't tell it to a child, but you have that in the thing. But you see the passion they have, because that is your father. Now, Uganda is our country. And I think it was Martin Luther King who said, before you ask what your country has done for you, ask yourself, what have you done for your country? You know, a person goes to a hospital, I mean a private hospital, and they're given drugs that are labeled UG, meaning government of Uganda. And they're sold those drugs. And for him, it's like, these people, they're giving me government drugs anyway, as long as I'm fine. But there's a poor person who can't come to a government hospital, who can't come to a private hospital, and their only hope for that fellow Ugandan is the government facility where these drugs have been stolen. So for they're selling you these drugs, you could hold this person accountable so that they can't purchase drugs and give them to you. But because for you, you're fine, it is okay. Someone sees a street light labeled UG, or even having government of Uganda, they bring this pole. And it's like, Tebakute, is it safe? They smelt it in scrap. Of saying, but you've destroyed a road sign, but maybe would save someone's life and beautify our city. So these are not what we are looking for. Look for something else. So it is either we need to promote, we need to have deliberate, and I want to use the word deliberate, because in a number of government programs, even the price development model, I've seen this word mindset change. It disturbs me by them. Mindset change. Peter, this mindset change. Whose mind are we changing? We are assuming that the person in the village needs a mindset change. We are assuming that the 39 who are not in the money economy needs a mindset change. What about those that are siphoning and stealing billions of government money? What about those that are even handling these very programs and they are messing them up? Don't they need a mindset change? Often I see people being taken to Chankwans, to the leadership institutionally, to see how they can. So unless we have deliberate, unless we have a think tank of how do we bring back Ugandans to appreciate, because Sonko, How best are you explaining, I've forgotten his name, this man who picks stones and hits a CCTV camera? When tomorrow his brother, his daughter is going to be murdered around that area, and we are craving, what if these images, what if someone, the
and
camera was
the
able
same
to
person
get,
who destroyed.
to get, you know? So it all goes back to promoting the love for this country. How do you explain a technician in a government institution that comes and they have a syndicated move? They come to repair and they steal batteries. Then take them, you find them Chiseka, you find them Chiembe, yet these are batteries that are supposed to be in government lights lighting this city. Would you say this is poverty? Actually, the people who have stolen, the people who are messing up you are not the poor. That technician has a job. He's paid maybe relatively well, but is stealing these batteries and selling them as an extra income. This person who is stealing drugs from government hospital, he's a doctor, a pharmacist. They're not unemployed. They're not in the 39%. They have lack of love for a country. A person who will look at these polls and says, because this is organized crime, by the time you're going to rent a fuso, because I've seen some police has been able to impound, they are loading them on trucks. It is organized. It is, they have. They're not like these Karamajong girls we are seeing on streets, that they are begging to go and buy half-rotten beans and funny flour to have a meal. They're not stealing because they are lacking a meal. You know, where I come from, if a woman stole, a pregnant woman stole, she's excused if she's stealing food. If a narongo comes to your garden, no musanga nga bato, you know, because she's stealing to have something to feed the twins. But
it's for a good cause.
It's for a good cause. It is bad, but it's for a good cause. You know, tosobola kuba narongo nga byetoke lyo tukukuba
ate wa betala lyo mu kibuga nga atwala mu nyumba ye
abalongo balabe. That you can also excuse. But people committing these offenses, they just don't love their country. They don't want to see good, and they find it very. A Ugandan, I was in one of a country I'm not going to mention, and I took my Ugandanness there. I saw some chocolate, get this chocolate. I'm like, well, I can walk while having a bit of this chocolate. Then I dumped. You know Ugandanness. I didn't see a trash can nearby. Now, I remember if this young girl was very mature. She was about 12 years. Very smart, knocked on me and said, sir, please pick it up. I was shocked. Said, please pick it up. I said, I'm sorry, but there's no trash. You know, when you have now to be polite when you're humiliated by someone younger than you. So, I told her, I'm sorry, but I didn't see a trash can. She said, if you don't see a trash can, you're supposed to keep it in your pocket or be with it until you meet a trash can and drop it here. That is what we do here. Now, that person, those people are looking at cleanliness. They want a clean city. They love their city. They're not thinking about how much the city is giving to them, but they're looking at how do they maintain this city better. Today, you find that there's a trash can around outside our gate by KCCA, but someone will throw rubbish and it falls away from the trash can, and they will continue walking. And I'm good at stopping them. You know, someone will come and just break this thing. Someone just knowing and you're like, now look at this one. So, deliberate, some of these crimes we can solve. One, when we teach people the purpose. Because sometimes, I want to sound polite, Sometimes what is obvious to you and me may not be obvious for another person to understand. You install security cameras, CCTV cameras. Someone may even feel this is a project by government and some few people in government to eat money. That no, this is a plot. The president talked of security cameras. Now, are they going to fall report to their houses? Are they unfold? So you have to explain to them that tomorrow your daughter may be raped as she's hurrying to go to school early at 5, because these days children go very early.
5 a.m.
Now, in case that happens, for us to get these criminals, so they don't do it again on other children, this security camera will help us. You need to explain some of these things, that this trash can will help keep our city clean, that these lights, when a light is lit, people go to work early enough. Crimes reduce because very few people want to commit crime in broad or when lights are there. Darkness is an aid to criminality.
Well, surely darkness is an aid to criminality. And we shall end our conversation with a comment coming in from Phillips in Karamoja, who says, all institutions have leaders that make sure any infrastructure in place is monitored, protected for maintenance. Now, he highlights that the problems are many folds with our current situation. Insensitive kind of managers who want something to happen for him or her to benefit from, corruption tendencies, laziest affair mindedness on public property, and then poor work ethics, especially for those who are supposed to monitor. But then he also mentions laziest affair mindedness on public property, but I think he hasn't also put a concern on what we as the people who consume these public goods, because we also play a role in making sure that these things are maintained and protected.
Unless you do away with the I don't care attitude. You know, today, Sonko, we've developed the I don't care attitude. That's why I said, Sonko, you can see someone cruising a government car, abusing it, and you're like, it is a government thing. You know? You can see someone stealing electric wires. Like, be a government. We've developed so much individualism in us, and we've moved away from appreciating and loving our country and aiming to see it better. That's why even corruption is there. That I only condemn corruption. But if a deal comes
and I'm gaining off it, I'm
not willing to say that this is not going to happen. That's why you're having syndicate corruption today. That's if we want to steal cameras here, it has Ruatoro, it's a syndicate.
And also, to our dear viewer, please do note that in case you're caught vandalizing public property, the chances are high that you will be charged with malicious damage and destruction. Those are some of the charges that you may face as well. And of course, it won't be a high debate if at all treason is also put amongst the cases, because it's like you're betraying your entire country, destroying property. But that is not the case that you can look at for at this stage. But malicious damage and destruction is one that can be filed against you in the courts of law or by the police for vandalizing. Our conversation has been looking at the impact of vandalism or public infrastructure vandalism. Public infrastructure or public fabric is something that includes everything to do with the roads, the street lights, the traffic lights. You look at the paintings on the roads, or what you could say the beautification, the islands. You can as well look at the fountains that we no longer have on Kampala streets. And then you can also look at the other things that are always added, the road signage or the road signs that are always added onto the roads to kind of beautify, also guide other people to make sure that we do not have accidents, or even this, the traffic lights. All of that is a public good and a service that we all yearn for a better Uganda. But at the end of the day, without the maintenance and protection of the same, we are likely not to benefit from anything that we claim to want so badly. But of course, it also stems back from the love that we have for good things, and then the love we have for our country. Because if you don't love good things, even when you see a good thing, you may think someone is gaining money off it.
Greens the city, a convoy of a VIP is packed in the green
into
grass.
the green. So you wonder. And then we have a pathway where you're supposed to pass, and then instead of passing through the pedestrian stroll areas, you find an individual passing through the same grass, which is supposed to beautify the city. So Twe Deco, it is something that we can work on as well. We as the public need to play our role as we continue to ask for our leaders, and as we continue to ask for accountability of our funds. But then we also need to play our part. I've been with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono this morning as we are digesting matters to do with public vandalism of infrastructure. But at the top of it all, it has been Good Morning Uganda and Good Morning Uganda Extra. Tomorrow, same time from 6:30 a.m, we shall surely do it. For those of you who are still home and are moving to Kampala, please do note that it's already raining, so you should carry an umbrella or an extra jacket or sweater as you're heading to Kampala. If need be, maybe a gumboot or a high boot will do you good. Till tomorrow, have a good day and a blessed morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja to the town or city near you between July and December this year. Don't miss Uganda's beautiful stories from east to west, north to south in Tuko Pamoja.
Uganda as we see today never had a name. It had the regions that make it.
The battle for protection